Rhea, having lost 5 children to her husband Cronus's hunger for power, was pregnant with a 6th, and this time with Gaia's help, she meant to save it. Rhea traveled to the island of Crete, to a hidden cave deep in the wild slopes of Mount Ida, far from her husband's throne, far from his watchful eyes. And there, in secret, in the dark of that cave, she gave birth to a son. She named him Zeus. Now came the moment that would decide everything. Rhea wrapped a large stone, just a stone, cold and lifeless, in soft swaddling cloth, the way you would wrap any newborn child. And she carried this bundle back to Cronus and placed it in his arms. Cronus, the same god who had devoured 5 living children without hesitation, looked at the bundle in his hands and saw nothing to fear, just another child. Just another threat to be eliminated the same way as all the others. He opened his mouth, and he swallowed the stone whole. Whether he ever noticed the weight was wrong, the texture was wrong, the shape was wrong, the myths don't say. Perhaps he did notice and simply didn't care, so confident was he that no child of his could ever pose a real threat. Perhaps the arrogance of absolute power is exactly this. The inability to imagine you could ever be fooled. Either way, it worked. Somewhere inside Cronus's own body, alongside his swallowed children, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, all still trapped, still waiting, sat a stone shaped like a baby. And far away, on the slopes of Mount Ida, the real child grew. Zeus was raised in secret. Nymphs cared for him. A goat named Amalthea nursed him with her own milk. And when the infant cried too loudly, when there was danger that Cronus might hear an infant's wail carried on the wind and grow suspicious, armored guardians called the Caretes clashed their spears against their shields, again and again, drowning out the sound of the future king of Olympus crying in a cave. Years passed, and Zeus grew. He grew into strength his father had never accounted for. He grew into cunning that matched, and perhaps exceeded, Cronus's own. And when he was ready, fully grown, powerful, and utterly determined to end the tyranny that had swallowed 5 of his own siblings before he ever drew a breath, Zeus made his move. He found a way to make Cronus disgorge everything he had swallowed. Some tellings say Zeus tricked his father into drinking a specially prepared potion that forced him to vomit. Whatever the method, the effect was the same, and it was extraordinary to witness. Cronus's body convulsed, and out came the stone first, the very last thing swallowed, coming up first, clattering onto the ground where it would later be displayed at Delphi as a monument to the whole affair. And then, one by one, in reverse order of how they had been devoured, came the children. Hades, Poseidon, Hera, Demeter, Hestia. Full-grown gods and goddesses, emerging from their father's body, not as infants, but as adults, for time inside that darkness had not touched them, had not aged them, had simply held them suspended, waiting. 5 siblings, freed at last, and a 6th Zeus who had freed them. 6 gods stood together against their father and every titan who remained loyal to him. And what followed was not a skirmish. It was not a single battle. It was a war that would tear at the fabric of the young universe for 10 full years. A war so massive, so world-shaking, that the ancient poets simply called it by one name, the Titanomachy, the War of the Titans. For 10 years, neither side could win. Zeus and his siblings held Mount Olympus. Cronus and the Titans held Mount Othrys. Thunder answered thunder. Mountains were hurled like stones between armies of gods. And still, neither side broke. It was Zeus, always the clever one, who understood that this war could not be won with strength alone. He remembered the ones his father had left behind, buried in darkness since the very beginning of this whole bloody chain of betrayals. The Cyclopes and the 100-handed ones, still imprisoned in the abyss of Tartarus, forgotten by everyone except the earth herself. Zeus descended into that darkness and he freed them. Grateful beyond measure, finally free after uncountable ages trapped in the dark, the Cyclopes went to their forge and they crafted gifts worthy of the debt they owed. For Zeus, they hammered out the single most feared weapon in the history of the cosmos, the thunderbolt, capable of splitting mountains and striking down even titans. For Poseidon, a trident that could shatter the earth and summon the sea itself to rise in fury. For Hades, a helm that rendered its wearer completely invisible, unseen even by gods. And the 100-handed ones, those 100 arms, those 50 furious heads, threw themselves into battle at last, hurling not single stones but entire volleys of boulders, 100 at a time, an unstoppable storm of rock crashing down upon the Titan forces. The tide turned. It turned all at once, and it turned completely. Zeus, thunderbolt in hand, struck down the Titan resistance with a force the old order had never faced before. The Cyclopes' forge fire and the 100-handers' relentless barrage broke the Titans' lines entirely. And one by one, the Titans who had stood against Zeus fell, were captured. Cronus himself, the god who had swallowed his own children, who had ruled through fear since the day he first raised a sickle against his own father, was overthrown at last, defeated by his own son, just as the prophecy had always promised. Just as no amount of swallowing, no amount of caution, no amount of paranoid cruelty had ever been able to prevent. The defeated Titans were cast down into Tartarus, that same bottomless pit that had existed since the very beginning of everything. And this time, it was the 100-handed ones who stood guard over them, ensuring they would never rise again. One Titan received a punishment all his own. Atlas, who had led the Titan armies into battle, was given a task that would last for all eternity, to stand at the edge of the world and hold up the sky itself upon his shoulders, bearing forever the very weight his own kind had once ruled. And so at last, the war ended. Zeus and his siblings, Hades, Poseidon, Hera, Demeter, Hestia, stood victorious over the ashes of the old order. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades drew lots to divide the greatest prizes among themselves. Zeus took the sky, Poseidon took the sea, Hades took the realm of the dead, the underworld, where he would rule forever over the shades of mortals yet to be born. A new age had begun, the age of the Olympians, the age you have heard of in every story since. But if you think this new order was any less bloody, any less shadowed by betrayal and jealousy and violence than the one it replaced, you have not yet heard what Zeus himself would do, not to a Titan, not to an enemy, but to one who had once fought beside him, one who loved humanity more than he feared the wrath of a king, one who would steal something small enough to hold in a single hand and pay for it with an eternity of agony. His name was Prometheus, and his story is next.